All right. Good afternoon, Facebook. Here we go. It is Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday, May 26th, 2020. The time is 1:19 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Boy, am I kind of loaded for bear today. I've got a lot of reading that I've done, a lot of things that I've found out, a lot of things that I've been talking about have sort of been validated with official figures coming out from the Centers for Disease Control. There's some kind of shocking information about the way that our local, or rather state government, has been inflating the death toll in a manner that can be described in no other way than to call it deliberate. Speculating as to what's motivating it, that's a leap each one of you are going to have to make in your own minds. I have my own opinions, but those are still sort of taking shape, and I'm just not in a position today where I want to pontificate too much about that. But there's some interesting facts here that point pretty steadily in a certain direction. And then there's also stuff coming out about the world's quest to find a vaccine for this disease. So, just getting started, let's take a look at the entire world's figures. As always, I'm taking these numbers from worldometers.info/coronavirus. As of today's date, the world is reporting 5,646,287 positive or confirmed cases of COVID-19. Of that number, the official tabulation is that 350,141 lives have been claimed by this pandemic. The United States, leading the pack, as it were, is reporting 1,717,552 positive or confirmed cases. And as I predicted yesterday, we have surpassed the 100,000 mark, currently reporting 100,269 fatalities as a result of the pandemic. Now, taken again as a simple fraction, the number of fatalities attributed to coronavirus out of the number of total positive or confirmed cases gives the United States officially an infection fatality rate of 5.8%, or closely thereabouts. Just taken as a raw number, that's how these countries are ranked. The total number of positive or confirmed cases, the United States being the highest number. We're not considering that number out of the total population of the country, just that number for what it is. Brazil is now in the number 2 spot worldwide. They are reporting 377,760 cases. And Brazil is reporting a loss of life of 23,622 people. Now, Russia's in third place in terms of positive or confirmed cases, 362,342 cases. Now, the United States, doing that simple division, reports an infection fatality rate of 5.8%. Brazil's reporting 6.25%. Russia, out of its 362,342 cases, they are only reporting 3,807 fatalities. That puts their infection fatality rate at 1.05%. Compared to, get this, the United Kingdom's reporting 265,227 deaths, or rather positive or confirmed cases. Their death toll, they are reporting 37,048. That puts their infection fatality rate at 14.9%. Let's just round that up. 15% infection fatality rate in the United Kingdom compared to Russia's 1%. What accounts for such discrepancy? A comment right here from Nicole. Hello, Nicole. She says, I don't even think anything is accurate. There are inconclusive tests and a 70.8% accuracy rate. Exactly correct. It's exactly as I've been pointing out from the beginning of this. Now, where did this all begin? It began in China, right? So let's look at what they're reporting. 82,992 cases, reporting a death toll of 4,634, putting their infection fatality rate at 5.5%. Pretty much right up there with the United States and Brazil, nowhere close to UK and far above Russia. These numbers are all over the place. How is it that the country of China, a country of 1.4 billion people, have less cases than the top 5 countries? Let's see here. They have less cases than Canada. They have less cases than Peru, less cases than Iran, less cases than the United States. Only 82,900 cases. I don't believe those figures at all. Not at all. Well, bringing things a little closer to home, domestically speaking, the United States, again, is reporting currently that 1,717,552 American citizens have tested positive for the disease. Of that number, 100,269 lives have been claimed. Now, I'm going to get into why I've been so skeptical of these numbers. I've been pointing that out for a long time. But before I do that, the state of New York, 373,406 cases, with a fatality toll of 29,392. So, New York has 373,000. The entire country of Brazil has 377,000. New York State alone is reporting almost as many positive or confirmed cases as the entire country of Brazil. Now, Washington State. Washington State is reporting, as of this morning, or this afternoon, 20,972 positive or confirmed cases. The official death toll in the state of Washington, 1,090 as of today. 1,090, according to the official numbers. But if any of you out there are starting to feel skeptical or suspicious of these numbers, you're not alone. On Thursday, the Washington State Department of Health confirmed a report that they have included those who tested positive for COVID-19 but died of other causes, including gunshot injuries, in their coronavirus death totals. So if you have tested positive at any point for coronavirus and someone shoots you and kills you, your death is going to be counted in these numbers that I read out every day. Now, in terms of the number of fatalities that are caused by something like that, it might be a relatively low number. In fact, I have the specifics right here. This report, based on Department of Health documents and statements provided, concluded that of the 828 COVID-19 deaths reported as of May 8th, so this is some weeks ago, 681 of those, being 82%, list some variation of COVID-19 in one of the causes of death on the death certificate. So 82% of them, the death is basically directly attributed to the disease. But 5% of them, or a total of 41, the death certificate does not list COVID-19 as a cause of death, but indicate that it was what they're calling a significant condition contributing to death. 13%, or 106, and this is the primary sort of nugget from this story, 13% of deaths in Washington state involved persons who had previously tested positive for COVID-19, but did not have the virus listed anywhere on their death certificate as either causing or contributing to death. At the time that this report was put together, the 8th of May, that was 106. 106 out of the 828 deaths reported at that time, COVID-19 was not listed anywhere on their death certificate. Now, as I pointed out yesterday, we're in the midst of this phased reopening of our state. In order for a county to be able to move into phase 2 of our reopening structure, you have to be able to demonstrate that you have experienced less than 10 deaths per 100,000 people within your county in order to be eligible for phase 2. And that has to be sustained over a period of 14 days. So if the numbers are being tabulated this way as recently as May 8th, where somebody could be killed in a car accident or by a gunshot wound, that number could put us right over that brink. In Pierce County, we would have to be average less than 16 per day, 16 new cases per day. I don't know where the fatality rate fits into that, but if the numbers are being tabulated in this manner, then that means that these figures are being inflated with some really ridiculous methods, and it could slow down a county's ability to apply for phase 2 of the reopening. Now, the governor scoffed at the foundation that put this report together. When he was asked about the report at a press conference, Governor Inslee dismissed it as being dangerous and disgusting and malarkey. He further accused the foundation of fanning these conspiracy claims from the planet Pluto. Okay. Oh, Jay Inslee. And then your own Department of Health goes on to confirm the accuracy of the very report that you just ridiculed as being a conspiracy theory from the planet Pluto. For a long time now, I've been pointing things out, real reports, medical reports that have been suggesting with documented factual data, science, that the actual mortality rate or infection fatality rate of this disease is far, far lower than is being officially reported. Principally, I've been citing what are known as seroprevalent surveys. Those of you who've been following my broadcasts have heard me mention this probably about 1,000 times by now, but they're very valid. They basically say, for those of you who aren't familiar, that if you take a certain locality and you sample a few thousand people within that locality, take blood samples for the purposes of identifying a specific antibody, the presence of that antibody would be proof positive that you had this disease at some point and your body has developed a natural immunity to it. It is an infallible method. There have been 3 of them, to my knowledge, 2 in California, 1 in New York, all of which indicate that the actual number of people who have caught coronavirus is somewhere between 28 and 55 times higher than the official numbers like the ones that are reported by the World Health Organization and Centers for Disease Control here in the United States. But that hasn't really gained any traction or any steam in terms of being adopted as valid information being used to help inform our decisions and our policies. Well, now, the Centers for Disease Control themselves have come forward and essentially confirmed that the infection fatality rate is vanishingly small compared to what the official numbers are. Just to put it in perspective, way back at the very beginning of this, before any state, or at least before the state of Washington had shut down, on March 5th, it was reported by the World Health Organization that the latest global death rate for the coronavirus was 3.4%. 3.4% globally. And they went on to explain that this was higher than initially speculated. But new information, and again, this is not coming from some crackpot conspiracy theory. This is not some organization, some singular institution or college going out there and doing a test and coming up with unexpected or surprising results. This is directly from the Centers for Disease Control. The CDC just came out with the report that should be earth-shattering to the narrative of the political class, yet it will go into the thick pile of vital data and information about the virus that is not getting out to the public. Essentially, what this is saying, the Centers for Disease Control has attempted to offer a real estimate of the overall death rates for COVID-19, and under its most likely scenario, the actual death rate is 0.26%. This was published just 3 days ago. I have found the actual report from the CDC. It lists 5 scenarios. Scenarios 1 through 4 are based on parameter values that represent the lower and upper bounds of disease severity and viral transmissibility from moderate to very high. The parameter values used in these scenarios are likely to change as we obtain additional data about the upper and lower bounds of disease severity and the transmissibility of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. That's in the way that this graph is laid out. Scenarios 1 through 4 are based on parameter values for the upper and lower bounds. Scenario 5 represents a current best estimate about viral transmission and disease severity in the United States, with the same caveat that the parameter values will change as more data becomes available. Now, the actual data, the raw data within this report indicates that Scenario 5, current best estimate, symptomatic case fatality ratio stratified by age overall is 0.004%. Well, I suppose not. It would be about 0.4% if you look at it as a percentage and not just a decimal figure. Now, again, that's for symptomatic cases. When you account for the fatality of asymptomatic cases, which is listed elsewhere in the report, that's how we arrive at the figure listed as being 0.26%. Which pretty much puts it directly in line with the figures suggested by the seroprevalence surveys conducted by 2 counties in California and 1 in New York. Essentially suggesting that this disease was never anywhere close to being as deadly as the official reports indicate. The official reports, which are used as the basis for our policy, the basis for shutting down the economy, for putting somewhere between 30 and 40 million American citizens out of work. And what have we been hearing all along, right? That we won't be able to see the very end of this, because even phase 4 in the state of Washington is not going to be like things were in early March of this year. We've got to wait for a vaccine, right? Again, 0.26% is now what our own Centers for Disease Control is reporting as the real and most accurate and up-to-date estimate of the real fatality of this disease. Now, on the subject of a vaccine, there are many institutions, many hospitals, colleges, universities, many different groups of people and organizations worldwide scrambling to find a vaccine. Something that really will allow humanity to go back to the life that we knew before all this happened. One such institution is in the United Kingdom, Oxford University. I found this to be pretty illuminating. Oxford University COVID-19 vaccine trial has a 50% chance of yielding no result at all. A quote from the story here. Their adversary, the adversary referring to the disease itself, is disappearing so rapidly in the United Kingdom that the next phase of trials has only a 50% chance of success. It goes on. Without COVID-19 spreading within the community, volunteers will not catch the disease, leaving scientists unable to prove that their vaccine makes any difference. Quote, we said earlier in the year that there was an 80% chance of developing an effective vaccine by September. But at the moment, there's a 50% chance that we get no result at all. He goes on, we are in the bizarre position of wanting COVID to stay, at least for a little while. But cases are declining. So there are now so few cases, so few new cases in the United Kingdom that Oxford's best attempt at testing a vaccine only has a 50% chance of yielding results that can be used or counted on. They wish they had more cases in the United Kingdom so they could test their virus. Now they're not confident, given the decline in cases, that they will be able to come up with results that will lead to a viable and safe vaccine. I've been saying for some time that it's entirely possible that these lockdowns, the stay in place, the social distancing, the shuttering of bars, restaurants, and music venues and sporting arenas, stadiums, etc., was an enormous overestimation of what we really needed to do. That a great deal of what we've been subjected to, not just in the United States, but around the world, was never necessary. I've said before, even lay people like myself have access to information like the stuff I get here. And even if you're not an educated medical professional, you have a desire to inform yourself. You have a desire to learn about what's going on and to be able to develop in your mind the perception of a stable pattern, something that makes sense to you. And whether you just sit watching the news or whether you actually go and dig through things and try to inform yourself as much as possible, if your efforts do not lead to the identification or recognition of a stable pattern, you simply conclude that what you're looking at doesn't make sense. And to many people, myself included, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. How much of this lockdown has been an intentional overreaction, motivated by, shall we say, other criteria outside of concern for public health and safety? The effects of this lockdown have been devastating, not just economically speaking. I think I pointed out a story the other day where a certain California hospital had reported an entire year's worth of suicide attempts within a 4-week period. There are other dimensions to public health and safety besides just this pandemic. Mental health figuring very high in that category. And the damage of this lockdown, as we move into the future and look back upon all this, the damage of the lockdown itself, when compared with the actual threat of this virus, as is now being revealed in things like these news reports and these data tables, etc., has the cure really been commensurate with the threat? Or has the cure been worse? I think that's something we all should be asking ourselves at this point. This has gone beyond the realm of conspiracy theorizing and paranoid speculation. People are coming forth and admitting something that a lot of people have suspected from the very beginning. Thanks for listening. Be good to each other.